Hey there, Gemini, and welcome to your 2020 Creativity Forecast reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for creatives, entrepreneurs, anybody who's interested in their personal growth and spirituality, as well as self-expression in any way. So if those areas of your life are interesting to you, go ahead and keep watching. And I also wanted to say that it's normal if sometimes when you're listening to these year ahead or even month ahead forecasts that maybe the messages don't make sense to you right away, but I assure you if you come back to this video as you go through the year of 2020, there definitely will be, in all likelihood, a few light bulbs at least that go off that kind of help you key into these energies. And secondly, I do want to say that it's possible that because they are general readings, sometimes it may not make sense to you at all. And in that case, you can always watch your sun, moon, or your rising reading, or you can watch all three and sort of amalgamize the messages as far as how this year is most likely to affect you energetically. Okay, Gemini, I have very interesting messages. I have very interesting messages for you that came through during the meditation. So while I was tuning into your energy, the first thing that my guide showed me was someone sitting on kind of like a couch, and it seemed like there was like a cup of tea or something, and they had a journal, and then there was like a psychology textbook or something next to them. And there was a quiet, almost peaceful atmosphere to this image. This is the first part of the message. And so this kind of made me feel like, I don't know if it's the beginning of 2020 or like a large portion of it, but I feel like 2020 is a year for you, Gemini, where you are either studying psychology in a bigger way, or you're just realizing things about human nature. Perhaps starting with yourself and your own psyche and analyzing yourself more, or it could be that you're also actually actively studying psychology, archetypes, or something having to do with the inner workings of the human psyche and the human spirit. Because there's something about like understanding that's coming through with this image. Like it feels to me like you're understanding more about yourself, but at the same time you're also unlocking universal kind of human truths and wisdom. So for those of you who are actually studying psychology or something like that, I feel like 2020 is going to be full of philosophical aha moments where you're going to really be putting together the pieces of your understanding of these topics and applying them in useful ways in your life. The second part of this message feels very specific and powerful. I don't know how this is going to play out for each one of you, but that was the first part of it, was like the person quietly kind of understanding like the psyche in a deeper way. And the second part of it, I was really surprised. It was like almost as I was in the meditative state, I see this light turn on, and there's a huge crowd of people, and they're all like screaming and cheering. And it felt to me almost like someone, like for you, like if you're doing a presentation or you're doing a performance or you're releasing something or launching something or publishing something, it feels to me like the response to it, Gemini, could potentially be like uproarious or like way more than you expected. And there's this impression almost that like the psychological or the philosophical understanding that you're gaining this year is part of that, because the feeling that I got from the image of all the people like screaming and cheering and like enthusiastically engaging, it was almost like you're able in 2020 to sort of channel your self-awareness and your knowledge into something that is going to have a broad and sort of deep, unconscious psychological connection with a large number of people. So this is kind of how things sort of, in my opinion, how things go viral in a sense, is that they hit on like psychic nerve points in our unconscious makeup. It's the collective unconscious. So when you tap into that, Gemini, and I feel like that's really the message for you for 2020, is when you tap into that, deeper understanding, and you're already, you know, being a Mercury ruled sign, you're already very much keyed into the workings of the mind and able to be highly analytical. There's something about when you apply newfound wisdom and knowledge that other people are going to really connect to it in a way that they maybe can't necessarily put their finger on why, but they see themselves in what you're doing. They see how they relate to your work, whether it's creative work or a cause that you're trying to raise awareness for. I think the response is going to be massive, and I feel like that might be a little bit intimidating for some of you, because you're like, oh my gosh, you know, what if I do put this out there and it really takes off? What will I do then? The message, if you're one of the Geminis who's concerned about that, is to just go with it anyway, because you are a channel this year. And it's going to be to varying degrees, because this is a general reading, but however you want to express yourself, Gemini, however you're feeling called to use your natural understanding of the human condition, our current modern, you know, civilization's issues, or even just the stories that you want to tell, the solutions you want to offer, the entertainment that you want to give, you know, the light that you want to bring to the world. It's going to touch hearts in 2020. So just be aware of that. Know that that is the path this year, and fully embrace your desire to understand. Because I feel like your desire to understand human nature is the key to unlocking whatever this is that people are going to be incredibly inspired by that you're doing. So let's go ahead and get some more specific insight with your tarot cards. But that was just a really beautiful meditation. So I'm excited for you, Gemini. Gemini. Clear loving guidance for Geminis. Clear loving guidance. Gemini. Clear loving guidance. Gemini. Okay, so I'm going to be laying out your Witch's Tarot cards, and I'm going to look at the energies of the year of 2020 for Gemini. I'm also going to get you a message from the Animal Spirit Oracle deck. This is a totem animal for you that's giving you some insight into your lessons and your personal transformations this year. Okay. Wow, so we have lizard. So I feel like this has come up for you guys in recent months. If you also watch my monthly readings, maybe one of you can, or a couple of you, if you want to, can let me know in the comments if you remember what month that was. But I am getting this sense with these this card that you did have this recently, and I feel like that was probably whatever was going on that month for you was like kind of the beginning of the transformation that you're actually going to really be in the midst of in 2020. So there's a link with how things have been going with you in recent months. Clearly when we have this card, and I don't normally remember the cards that signs get, especially if it was months ago, because I do so many readings, but with the lizard card as your kind of your lesson card, it's also your totem. The way that I feel you're going to be expressing this, Gemini, is really, I feel that you're going to be very keyed into the needs of your industry. There's something about the reptilian part of our brain that is sort of, again, it goes back to that, like the root essentially of the psyche. It's the unconscious part of the brain. It's fight or flight, it's instinct, but it's also a very mysterious part of us. And I feel that there's something here that almost indicates to me that you're going to be getting almost like psychic hits or intuitive hits that strike you very deep within your consciousness that are going to inspire you. They're going to give you this urge, go in that direction. And it's going to be because unconsciously you're picking up on the needs of your people, of essentially your tribe. If you're already an entrepreneur, if you have a fellowship, or if you have an audience, even if you're a new entrepreneur or a new artist, if you're starting something new, I feel like there's this almost preternatural sort of instinct that's coming into play for you in 2020, and you're really going to be encouraged to trust that. This is also a card, if you look this up in the guidebook, it talks a lot about the power of, the inner artist, and about being incredibly creative, and being able to be very unique in terms of your creative process, and allowing that to sort of come forward in a way that genuinely reflects sort of your perspective on your life, which is like the mirrored and like the environment being kind of related to the scales, or like the scaly part of the lizard. You can see the lizard is at one with its environment here. So there's something about whatever you're working on this year, Gemini, that's very intrinsically reflective of how you see life. It's totally authentic. So you don't have to worry about, like, if you've been struggling with self-doubt or imposter syndrome or anything like that. Recognize right now and give yourself full permission to understand and acknowledge and accept that what you're trying to do and what you're trying to create is absolutely true to the path that you have walked. That's all you have to worry about. That's the only thing that you need to be clear on, is the fact that whatever you have to offer, it is a result of the steps that you've taken in your life. And so you don't have to compare it to anyone else. You don't have to worry if it's too similar or too different. Don't even bother looking at the outside world. Share the path that you have walked, and that's enough. So let's go ahead and take a look at your cards. So we have the Ten of Cups. We've got Karma, which is a judgment card. We've got Four of Swords, Six of Pentacles, the Magician, King of Cups, Five of Wands, Four of Wands, Eight of Wands, Four of Cups, the World, and Three of Cups. So ending the year on a really nice note. I like how you go into the year on the Ten of Cups and you leave the year actually on the Three of Cups. So there's, it's showing that there's some kind of like emotional stability in terms of your environment and the people that you have around you, Gemini, that are, it's very much kind of stabilizing. It's like a stabilizing influence that you have going for you throughout the year. So I really like to see that. I feel like for many of you, your situation when it comes to the people that you have in your life that are really close to you, like maybe your significant other or like really close friends and family, that to me feels like an incredibly solid foundation for you. And it feels to me like there are possibly, going to be big changes in terms of your expression in the world and kind of how you express yourself publicly and sort of how you're doing things on a broader level. But it's nice to see that your sort of internal circle, or like your inner circle, your inner nucleus, is that sort of stronghold for you. I really love to see that. So as we go into the year, January and February, you actually have the Ten of Cups and the Karma card, which is Judgment. And it's interesting because as well, in January, we do have an eclipse. So it's a lunar eclipse. And when we see this, I mean, it feels to me like there are some kind of commitments that are coming through in January or possibly February. The eclipse is in January, but in either of those months, there's a sense of like committing yourself to like a purpose. So whatever your situation is, Gemini, the feeling that this gives me is that you actually have, as you go into 2020, like you have some people that you care so much about, or maybe it's a cause, or maybe it's your employees, or maybe it's your clients or customers. It could also be family, like I said before, or a significant other, like a spouse. But there's a sense of like real meaning that you have motivating you to either do well, like financially, or to take care of yourself in terms of your health, or to express yourself authentically in the world. There's a sense of real, like, wanting to take responsibility for some kind of driving purpose. There's a sense of really wanting to contribute. Again, either this could be in terms of your family and like really, really intimate relationships, or it could also be in your community and like a problem that you want to solve or something that you want to give back to. So some of you are getting very, I don't want to say like it's altruism, but there's something here about like I am motivated by something that's more than just my own self-interest. And there's a recognition of that. There's like a rock solid recognition of that as you go into 2020. So maybe some of you are doing a lot of work around your New Year's resolutions, for example, but they have more oomph to them. They have more power to them because it's very much specifically about targeting a solution that you want to reach for, either, like I said, for a community or for people in your family or for your clients and customers. It's like there's just this really powerful sense of purpose as you go into 2020. And when you have a strong purpose, when a Gemini has a strong purpose, you're basically unstoppable, right? Because the only like drawback, and I have some focus in Gemini in my chart as well, so I can totally relate to this. The only drawback in my view, or like the main drawback of the Gemini energy, is that it's split, right? Like you always want to be doing two things at once. It's, for me at least, it's really hard to just do one thing. Like I always want to be doing, if I'm watching a show, I want to be doing something with my hands, or if I'm cooking, I want to be learning something. So I want to be listening to a class while I'm cooking. There's always like two things that you're trying to do. So one of the struggles, I think, of having prominent placements in Gemini is that you're always like fighting this tendency to disperse your focus, or this tendency to think a million thoughts at once. And so I feel like when you have this energy of like unification of your motivation, it's really powerful actually, because you can achieve so much. So you're going into the year with a lot of energy and focus, and you're probably going to find it easier to focus this year. So I'd really like to see that. And part of that is because, you know, you care about what you're doing. As we go deeper into like the first few months of the year, with March and April, we have the Four of Swords and the Six of Pentacles. So what I get, Gemini, is like you go into the year on fucking fire. Sorry, I'm cussing, but you go in on fire. And then I feel like when you get to like March and April, there's a need to kind of give yourself a little bit of a break. And there's a need to allow someone to help you who's offering to help you, or to ask for help. And it can be hard for you to ask for that. It can be hard for a Gemini to just say, hey, like I could use some help right now. Because in part, like you have these thoughts and beliefs about yourself, about like what you should and you should be able to handle, you know, on your own. But I feel like with these cards, the Six of Pentacles and the Four of Swords is saying, maybe in March or April, let somebody repay a favor for you that you have given them in the past. Maybe somebody is circling back to say, hey, you know, I remember that you did this thing for me a couple years ago, and I just want you to know that I haven't forgotten that, and that if there's anything I can do, please just let me know. Or maybe with the Four of Swords, some of you could catch a little cold, or you could just be feeling like physically a little bit lower, because the Four of Swords can, it's not always, but it can sometimes come up to show physical illness or feeling fatigued and tired physically. This could be about asking for time off from work, or it could be asking someone to come in and take care of a couple of things for you because you just need to rest. So give yourself permission and license, Gemini, in like March or April to do that for you. in Taurus season, you know, that is when the sun is going to be in your 12th house. So that can be a time when your energy feels lower. So it could be in Taurus season, but we'll see. But just be open to accepting help from others, because I think that could actually be really beneficial for like both of you. The Six of Pentacles is about like mutuality. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. But into May and June, we have the Magician and the King of Cups. This is interesting because in May and June, we have a lot of like heavy hitting planets and Mercury all going retrograde. So there's likely to be some unusual like opportunities around you at that time. And I feel like the interesting thing about the fact that you have these very creative and passionate cards coming up, I think that that period of May and June is going to be amazing for like concept work. So if you are an entrepreneur, for example, or if you're a teacher, or if you have a knowledge base that you want to share, or if you have a new like project idea that you feel could be really beneficial to, you know, other people that will deliver value, or even if you're a novelist or a writer, or, you know, a song writer, or something like that, like a composer, I feel like May and June are going to be amazing times for doing, like holding that kind of sacred creative space around yourself where you can get a lot done. I feel like there's this sense of you kind of like, if you're a writer, for example, your hands are going to be flying across the keyboard at that time. It may, because there's so many retrogrades, including Mercury retrograde around like, I think it's the middle or end of June of 2020, you're gonna probably be doing this like initially first just behind closed doors. And that might actually give you the creative freedom. Like it might help you give yourself permission to let the words fly across the page if you're a writer, for example, and not be so hypercritical of it. Like shut off. What I'm hearing is shut off your inner critic in May and June and really just let the creativity flow, get inspired, prioritize joy at this time, because the more energy that you can create around your sense of inspiration and your ability to make something new, essentially, the more energy that you can create around that of joy and excitement and passion, the more you're going to get done. So May and June is like the have fun months of 2020. I mean, you should have fun every month, let's be clear, but particularly when it comes to your creative self and kind of how you express yourself, Gemini, I think that May and June, it's like have fun, listen to crazy music, attend maybe some events, or go places that inspire you and fill you up with joy, because you're all of that good feeling emotion that you're able to kind of brew up with that King of Cups, that's going to pay off. As a side note, as a very mundane draw or a mundane reading of this card, the King of Cups could relate to a Scorpio person in your life who may be helping you in a business way. So you could partner in a business relationship with a Scorpio, because here you are the Magician, which is Mercury. So it's you. Then we have this fixed water energy, which is Scorpio. So you could have a business partnership coming up with a Scorpio, a collaborative effort with a Scorpio, or maybe even just a water sign person. And, you know, maybe if it's retrograde time, you know, you might not want to sign any contracts yet, or just make sure that you're really checking through everything that you're agreeing to, because it could work really well. It could work amazingly well, I see, from those cards. Now in July and August, so July is the 5 of Wands and August is the 4 of Wands. So there's a movement from the 5 to the 4 in July and then into August. So July could feel a little hectic for you, Gemini. You might feel like there's just one too many things on your to-do list. That can be a factor. You may also feel like there's someone in your environment or in your friend group, or if you are running a course, or if you're managing a group online, like a forum, for example, there could just be like one person too many in the situation. And what I mean by that is like they could be stirring things up, being a little bit combative or argumentative with you. And so it may be time, like in July, to set some clear boundaries with someone with consequences. For example, let's say you have an online course and you have a group that you manage with it, and someone's in there sort of being combative or being hurtful to other members, or if you sense that somebody in the environment is being harsh or excessively, critical of other people, you could give them a warning, basically in writing, that basically gives consequences for their behavior. And then if they keep doing it, well, then it's time for them to, the consequences have to be honored. So it might mean that you have to delete them from the group, or it might mean that if you're teaching a local class, maybe unfortunately they're not welcome there anymore. So I'm not like seeing this as a huge thing, because typically in my experience with tarot, the Five of Wands is not the biggest of conflicts, but it does represent a battle of wills sometimes, and it sometimes can represent also situations that are just too hectic and we need to kind of clean the slate a little bit. But fortunately, by the time we get to August, we have the Four of Wands. So it looks like between July and August, there's something that you're releasing, or someone that you're setting boundaries with, or a project that you're just kind of pushing off to the side temporarily, so that by the time you get into August, you feel like you're kind of back into your nice flow and things are really working out well. So there's just like one too many things going on, I think, in July, and you have to kind of be discerning, Gemini, in terms of like figuring out which aspect of your life is causing the conflict, and then do what you can to just release that and move forward. I feel like your efforts are going to be really well received with the Four of Wands as well. This is often a card of completion and success. In August, we see that coming through for you. So it could be a great time, for example, to launch a new venture or something along those lines. Okay, September, we have the Eight of Wands. In October, we have the Four of Cups. So remember, these readings are general, so the energy could be a little fluid. You could feel these reversed, for example, or you could feel them a little earlier in the year or a little later. But what I get is September with the Eight of Wands, there's like, again, this continuation of this wandsy energy for you, where you are really seeing things happening in your life, and you're really seeing the progress, I think, that is actually a culmination of a lot of hard work on your part, and you're seeing kind of those prior efforts that you've taken, you're seeing them actually kind of taking shape at this time and sort of landing. Like if you imagine these wands are like aiming at the ground and they've been in the air for a while, when they land, the configuration that they're going to be in is sort of it's a revelation to you, right? Because you didn't know where everything was going to land. So something is feeling kind of hectic again in September, but at the same time, it could be like you rapidly approaching the accomplishment of a goal, for example, and it could feel just like really high stakes or fast paced in September. But overall, the feeling generally that I get from this card is exhilaration. So it should be really nice. But by October, we have the Four of Cups. So the thing that this is kind of making me feel for you, Gemini, like the combination of these energies, and I don't know if this is going to be very, very specific for someone out there, but the feeling that it's giving me is almost that sense of, when you really have challenged yourself, Gemini, and you've really like put yourself out of your comfort zone, you have done something that was really kind of challenging and amazing and required a lot of strength from you, and it was just this big expansive thing. Sometimes after that, there's almost this feeling of either emotional fatigue or even kind of apathy after it happens. And even after a big success, I know I personally have experienced this, and I've heard many, many other creative people talk about this, is that after you have something that could have only been described as a success, you set out to achieve a goal, you accomplished it, you got amazing feedback, in general, everything went as good as you could have expected, there's still this little period of like a lull of energy. And sometimes that can relate to like feeling almost as if you are like, I don't know how else to describe it, except that you've just expressed so much of your physical energy, your emotional energy, and your creative energy that you need a little bit of time to kind of reflect and recharge. And sort of your, whatever you've worked on, it starts to take on a life of its own. So there's this separation between like you and your creative work that used to be like your baby, you know, it used to be so close to you and you were spending time with it every day. Then you put it out there and like all these people see it and you get the results, you get the feedback, you see kind of how it is received in the world. And then it's like the relationship between you and that creative project has changed completely. So that's kind of the feel that I get from those cards. We have in the latter portion of the year, so we have the World and the Three of Cups. So as I'm looking at this, I feel like November and December actually look like a really happy completion point for you. I think that by the time the energy of November rolls around in 2020, you're probably already going to feel like you're ready to kind of move on to 2021, or like you're going to feel like the main events of 2020 have like happened for you. So the feeling I'm getting from this is like a sense of growth and accomplishment, a sense of having integrated new parts of yourself. And I feel like by the time you get like through November and into December, the holiday seasons, I think you're going to be kind of more interested in just taking it easy. I feel like you're going to want to be social, maybe spend time with friends or family. I feel like you're just going to want to do things that kind of bring you a sort of subjective feeling of joy and pleasure. And I think that's really how you're going to end 2020 is like, I want to take some time. Maybe you're not in a position to just take a couple months off, but there is a sense of like the last couple months of 2020, just really you wanting to feel like you're not having to push yourself so much and just wanting some time to like reflect on all of the growth and all of the transformation throughout the year and wanting to kind of enjoy like special time with the people that are close with you. So that's kind of like a really peaceful end to the year in my view. I think that's ideal. Let's take a look at your overall year card. So we have detachment. I want to get one more message on that. Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. Whoa. Remember I mentioned teaching and like classes and stuff like that. There's detachment and teach are coming through for you. So this is a really interesting draw. What I'm getting is like, this is going to be a year in which you're going to be able to maybe literally teach others, Gemini, if that's something that you've been wanting to do, or if it's something that you find yourself in a position to be able to do. Maybe it wasn't like your plan, but there's something here about being like a willful and like detached but peaceful teacher. And that could manifest in a lot of different ways. Like if you're not literally teaching a class, Gemini, or if you're not literally offering something that other people will learn from, for example, in a book or something like that. If it's not a situation like that, I feel like this is about like teaching through the power of your presence and your behavior and sort of how you show up in the world. I see you being able to create a lot of positive change in your life and to improve your relationships by simply just not being attached to what other people think of you. All you have to do with the teach card is embody the highest within you. Embody the awesomeness of Gemini, of you. Embody the awesomeness of you, and then detach from what other people are going to think of it. And I think that's really what's going to drive people crazy for what you do this year, because of that image that came through in the meditation about people like screaming and cheering you on. We really like and respect people who are outcome detached. And what I mean by that is like, when salespeople have like a bad reputation because they seem like very eager and enthusiastic and they're trying to like sell you something. The reason that feels so icky is because they are outcome dependent. in their interaction with you, all they're trying to do is guide you towards an outcome. So the beauty of a truly detached teacher is that they're outcome independent. They don't feel like they need something from you. So they're able to engage with you in a genuine way, in a way that says, like, you know, the highest in me sees the highest in you. Like, they're able to just kind of smile, and like when they look at you, like they see you without judgment. So they make like the best, you know, counselors as well. And there's definitely a component of that in the archetype of Gemini. So I hope this reading has been helpful to you, Gemini. I hope it gives you something meaningful to think about as you go through the year of 2020. Please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it. And also consider leaving me a comment below, letting me know what you think about this reading. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you would like to leave me a comment, leave me like a little tree emoji for these soul tree cards. If you have emojis, leave me a tree emoji, or just let me know I'm still here in the comments. I absolutely love hearing that from you guys, because it's so exciting to know that you're still with me, because every single one of these readings is a journey for me as well. So it's exciting to hear that you're still with me. If you'd like to donate to support my channel, I'll put the information on how to do that right below this video. You can donate any amount, and honestly, $1 is amazing. Like, even just $1 will really help me to support all of the time and effort that I put into these videos. So thank you so, so much. I send out a prayer of tenfold abundance, gratitude, and love towards every donator that sends me a donation. So of any amount. So thank you so much. And if you would like to have me look into your personal energies for 2020, I do still have some slots available in December for a delivery before New Year's. I don't know how long those are going to last, so grab them now if you'd like to have a reading with me before the end of the year. I'm sending you so much love, Gemini. Mwah. I hope you have an awesome time in 2020, and I will see you next time. Bye.